Hello guys, and welcome to my Yu-Gi-Oh channel. So today I've got some amazing news to tell you about, and you've probably heard this already, but from the Prismatic God box, they've revealed some brand new cards and they're absolutely amazing. I've already spoiled it for myself. I am so happy with them, and just look how impressive these cards are and how they've been discussed, and you can tell how I'm already feeling. So we'll cover them now. The first card is Thunder Force Attack. Like you have before, you've got the various monsters that have themed attacks. You've got Dark Magic Attack, you've got White Lightning, you've got Inferno Fire Blast. Lots of these different cards have their name based off of an attack that was used within the anime. This is no different from that. Anyway, it's a quick play spell card, and the effect is you can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. This card's activation and effect cannot be negated. 1. If you control a monster whose original name is Slifer the Sky Dragon, destroy as many face-up monsters your opponent currently controls as possible. Then, if this card was activated during your main phase, you can apply this effect. Draw cards equal to the number of monsters destroyed and sent to your opponent's graveyard by this effect. Also, you can attack with only one monster for the rest of this turn. This card is really amazing for what it needs to be, and it helps Slifer out so much. Biggest thing is, obviously, you can only activate one of these cards per turn. It's not that big of a restriction. It's quite powerful, so it does need to be balanced. It cannot be negated. So, traditionally, lots of cards that have powerful effects are often shut down by various other cards. Being able to activate this just for having a Slifer the Sky Dragon on the field means you can wipe out so many of your opponent's monsters, all those annoying negation monsters that they have on the field. Say goodbye to them, because traditionally most players tend to not go into defense mode. They tend to have their monsters in attack position, which means they're all going to be face up. I know you've got options such as Shadows, you have there's the Subterrors, you've got various other archetypes that do rely on being, defensive, but they don't tend to be used that often, so it's not that big of a deal. I'm glad for the limitation that it can only be applied if you've got a Slifer the Sky Dragon on the field, because if this just let you do this effect whenever, it would be far too powerful to be used. It would just be banned within a format. Destroying as many of your opponent's face-up monsters as possible isn't that big of a deal. Getting rid of them is really good for just board wiping. Think of it a little bit like Lightning Vortex or Raigeki, but just much better. And of course, actually it incentivizes you to use the effect during your main phase rather than your opponent's, because the quick play effect does mean it can be used either turn, but it rewards you if you use it during your main phase to be able to draw a number of cards equal to the number of monsters that you've destroyed by this effect. Slifer gains 1,000 attack for each card you've got in your hand. So if you draw into several cards, that's another 3,000 attack point boost. And it's often the weakness of Slifer when you look at it. Sometimes it doesn't have the kind of protection it needs. Yes, I know you've got Mound of the Bound Creator that was introduced a few years ago. Now it's general protection for level 10 monsters, so that's okay. But this also provides it with just more protection. The limitation on the attacking only once isn't an issue either, because it's only for the rest of that turn. And Slifer, the aim is to basically direct attack to finish off your opponent by the end of that turn. The next card is Fist of Fate. It's a quick play spell card. You can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. This card's activation and effect cannot be negated. 1. If you control a monster whose original name is Obelisk the Tormentor, negate the effects of one effect monster your opponent controls, and if you do, destroy it. and if you do that, negate for the rest of this turn the destroyed monster's effect, if any. Activated effects from monsters with the destroyed monster's original name, if any, and any effects on the field from monsters with the destroyed monster's original name, if any. Then, if this card was activated during your main phase, you can apply this effect. Destroy all spell and traps your opponent controls. Again, this is an amazing card. Being able to shut down not only the effects of an effect monster your opponent controls and getting rid of it, but preventing, if your opponent has multiple copies of that, from triggering any of their effects. Certain ones might have a graveyard effect, some of them have various other effects which can activate from the hand or from other zones or on the field. It shuts them all down. They cannot respond, which is brilliant. My concern with this card is it's very specific. It's only monster shutdown, and again, it's if your opponent isn't running anything too monster effect heavy, or if sometimes it's actually down to knowledge of the player. If they don't know the key cards of certain decks or general themes of certain archetypes, they don't know the card to negate. They are more likely to negate the card that your opponent is like, whatever, you've gotten rid of it, thank you, at least I got that out of your hand, I know you've activated it, now you can't activate another one. That's the other condition. So I'll simply special summon this other card and then continue my combos off as though you have done nothing. That is a massive flaw in this card. It's so bad for that kind of effect. That is why there are such issues with it. But I do love the effect of it, having that bonus effect to destroy all spell and traps your opponent controls. It's Harpy's Feathered Duster, basically. But it's also dependent on how your opponent is playing. If they're not spell and trap heavy, then this isn't really going to do much. Of the 3 cards I've seen of reviewing the 3, I would definitely say this is the weakest of them. I would have preferred some sort of other effect rather than just purely one monster negation. It shuts them for the turn, but it's just not good enough. This one is the one that I absolutely love. This is the one that is going to be played by everyone. It's Exchanging Souls. This is a quick play spell card. With the effect, you can only activate 1 card with this card's name per turn. 1. During the main phase, immediately after this effect resolves, tribute summon 1 Divine Beast monster by tributing monsters from either player controls. But if you summon it by tributing a monster your opponent controls, you can apply this effect. After this card resolves, you can only activate a spell card, a trap card, or a card effect that is not a Divine Beast monster effect once each turn until the end of the next turn. So if anyone doesn't know the artwork or the story behind this artwork, I will actually explain this to you. Do you remember the Battle City duels in the finals? Seto Kaiba was facing off against Marik Ishtar's sister, I can't remember her name, Ishizu. She was the keeper of the Millennium Necklace, who was able to kind of foresee the different events and predicted that Kaiba was going to be defeated because she kind of implanted one of her monsters with this kind of virus. The whole idea is that if Seto sacrifices her monsters, that was with a different card. It was Soul Exchange. It worked differently in the anime that he could basically use all of his opponent's monsters to summon Obelisk, and in doing so, that Time Bomb would actually destroy Obelisk in the process when he declared an attack. Seto in the end didn't actually do that. He continued with that, but then he tributed his Obelisk to summon out his Blue Eyes White Dragon to nullify the effect of that virus-based trap card. The monsters in the artwork are the ones Ishizu actually used and were the ones actually tributed. So from the left, you've got Kelbeck, the middle one with the red and the little Millennium Eye is Agido, and I think it's Zolga is the one on the right with the kind of cape-looking creature. They were all part of that storyline anyway. The biggest downside of this card is that, unlike the other cards, it does it can be negated. But I can understand why. You don't want to make it too broken. You don't want to have any issues with it. They probably tested and thought about using this card already and had some kind of process to what they were planning to do with it. I'm glad that it can at least be negated. The effect is amazing because actually you can just get rid of all your opponent's monsters to bring out a Divine Beast. And there aren't that many of them, so it's limited to what you can use it on. It's traditionally, I think it's the God cards. I can't think of any other Divine Beast monsters. The Wicked monsters aren't Divine Beast. I don't think there's anything else within the classification, so it's just at the moment the Egyptian gods. Potentially in the future, who knows, we might be getting some more Divine Beasts maybe within this God box as well. It could be hinting towards that. If it does, maybe this card will be even more useful. It does let you get rid of all your opponent's threats, but it is, again, like anything else, dependent on your opponent having these monsters. More likely than not, you're probably not going to be getting the maximum value from this, as in using all your opponent's monsters to tribute summon for one of these monsters. Instead, you're most likely going to be using one or two of yours and pairing the remainder from your opponent. Of the three Egyptian gods, the one that had seen competitive play, I think it was during like a frog format, was Obelisk. The others haven't seen any competitive play, but introducing this might encourage that. The other thing is it does limit you to what you can activate outside of the Divine Beast monster's effect, not only for your turn but your opponent's turn. I don't see that as being too big of a problem for a couple of reasons. Firstly, you want to offset this card. You don't want it to be too broken. Secondly, it's not that big of a punishment. Activating one effect per turn for, okay, if you activate it during your turn, this card, then, you've got this turn plus your next turn. If you activate this on your opponent's turn, then you've just got your next turn following your opponent. Either way, it's not that bad. It's better to be used during your opponent's turn, but it's all dependent on what your opponent is running and how they play and what knowledge you have of their deck in order to get the best grasp of what they're using. This card has been compared to the Winged Dragon of Ra Spear Mode, but people do argue Spear Mode is better because it's less restrictive and it's more free-flowing for what it can do. It's less conditional. Those are the benefits of that card versus this, but Spear Mode is what it is, and I'm sure we're probably going to get some more cards as well. These are just 3 cards, probably going to get at least another couple. I should mention as well that we are getting a few other cards as well. So you've got the Golden Idol. This is a level 1 Dark Attribute Spellcaster effect monster. It's a 0 attack and 0 defense. You can use the second effect with this card's name only once per turn. Once per turn as a quick effect, you can look at your opponent's hand. Also, this card's name becomes Thousand Eyes Idol until the end phase. And 2, if this card is banished or is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can target one effect monster your opponent controls, equip that effect monster to one relinquished monster, or one Eyes Restrict monster you control that cannot be normal summoned or set, and if you do, the equipped monster gains attack equal to that effect monster's original attack, or that effect monster is equipped to it this way. This is an upgrade to Thousand Eyes Idol. For anyone who doesn't know, the original is a vanilla normal monster, 0 attack, 0 defense, same stat lines, same typing, same attributes, same level. Everything is the same, but the fact that this is an effect monster. Being able to see your opponent's hand gives you massive knowledge into what they're running. Having that information is fantastic, and this isn't of cost to you, because treating it as Thousand Eyes Idol, you can fusion summon into Thousand Eyes Restrict using this card. The other thing is, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you might have used it for polymerization to fuse it into that. Being able to steal one of your opponent's monsters to equip to one of your relinquished or eyes restrict monsters means you're gaining that extra attack points. That's to fuel it up even further. So there aren't that many restrictions to it. It's really good for what it needs to be. And here are some of the reprints that are going to be associated with the pack. So you've got Winged Dragon of Ra, Immortal Phoenix, Curse of Dragonfire Relinquished, Sky Galloping Gaia the Dragon Champion, Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, Black Illusion Ritual, Relinquished Fusion, and Toon Table of Contents. What you guys think of these cards? Please leave those comments down below. Like the video if you enjoyed it. What was your favourite card out of them? Which cards do you not think were that good? And don't forget to subscribe to see more Yu-Gi-Oh content.